Good evening and welcome to He Said, She Sang. I am Alex Stein. I will be setting this evening.
Setting. And I'm Amy Engelhardt. I will be singing.
Singing this evening.
Singing this evening.
Wanted to wish you all a very happy President's Day. Holiday for some of you, not so much for others. A lot of weather going on. So thank you for joining us.
On.
A lot of what going on?
Presidents going. Well, only one. Thank God.
Yeah, one at a time. That's the rule. So without further ado, the way this is going to work is I'm going to tell stories. Amy's going to sing some songs. We'll talk to you in between and stuff like.
And check on you. Make sure you're still breathing.
Yeah, we'll check on you. You know, if you need a snack, we'll magically make one appear.
Although I suggest you get one. I mean, come on. It's dinner time, right? I mean, you can eat right after this or even during it. We don't see you, by the way. That's one of the reasons we're not on Zoom, is we can't see what you're actually doing.
You don't see them.
Oh.
I see every one of them.
No, you don't.
It's disturbing. Especially the one in the back.
Don't. I do see you, though. And
Oh, where did she go? She's gone. All right, then I'll start. Although we are in the midst of a pandemic, we're not going to really talk about that, but I am going to read this piece, which is called Virus. I never loved Laurie Anderson. I was aware of her in the 80s when she was an electric violin playing performance artist, after she trained as a sculptor, but before she married Lou Reed. My friends who were more avant-garde than me had her records. They never really seemed to get much pleasure out of listening to them, though, but they had them. Like that Proust novel that mocked you from the shelf because, and I might be anthropomorphizing just a scotch, both you and the book knew damn well you were never going to read it. I heard Oh Superman on the radio. It was okay. If you were going for arty, I preferred the Talking Heads. If you wanted clever, I was more into XTC. And if you needed a poetic former spoken word performer turned rock and roller, I would go with Jim Carroll's punk anthem, People Who Died, because Bobby did OD on Drano on the night that he was wed. And that was just so Bobby, wasn't it? Anyway, that song, People Who Died, by the way, was the first laundry list song that I was ever aware of. I had friends who felt that Jim Carroll was too out there, and they preferred a band like the Nails, who are best known for their song 88 Lines About 44 Women, which I remember only the title of, and the fact that I used to, when I was younger and even more of a wise ass, refer to it as 25 lines about 12 and a half women, and I still do today. It's similar to how every time I hear a certain NPR newscaster, I say to myself, I know why the caged Lakshmi sings. Every single time. So it was easy to escape from Laurie Anderson. She was never that popular and never had that moment where she was everywhere. Still, 2 or 3 times a year, I'll dream lines from Laurie Anderson songs that don't really exist. And a few nights ago, I heard her talk singing, You spike the punch, she spikes her hair. This is the thing that you dream of. And the ironic thing is, it was literally the thing I was dreaming of, because that's not a real Laurie Anderson song. I just dreamed it. But if I didn't tell you it wasn't a real Laurie Anderson song, and you've never heard very many Laurie Anderson songs, you'd easily believe it was one, which again, it wasn't. Isn't that so Laurie Anderson? I mean, she was meta long before meta was cool. By the early to mid 1980s, I was almost completely burned out on what was popular in pop music. I liked the energy of punk and new wave, but I hated what came up after it. I thought oral collaging was ridiculous, and anyone who enjoyed it was insane, which in the latest version of the American Psychiatric Association's Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, it is. Look it up. I can't do all the fucking work for you. So I no longer liked whole songs. If I was lucky, I'd like a tiny fragment of songs, like the guttural groan on the first syllable of the first utterance of the word every in the Police's Every Little Thing She Does Is Magic, and the single line, time to play B-sides from Blue Oyster Cult's Burning for You. I did like the phrase, I want to tell her that I love her, but the point is probably moot, from Rick Springfield's Jesse's Girl, but who didn't? And then a friend dragged me to see Home of the Brave, the Laurie Anderson concert movie, which I hated, except for the part that I loved, a little tiny segment of one song. In the song Language is a Virus, which incidentally starts with the line, paradise is exactly like where you are right now, only much, much better. In that song, she tells the story of running into a friend of hers and saying she missed him and being taken aback, and when he was not sure that she was talking to him, and he kept saying, are you talking to me? Or are you just practicing for one of those performances of yours? And for the first time, I became aware of the exact measured rhythms of this thing that she did, the thing that wasn't quite music and wasn't quite poetry and definitely wasn't anything that I'd heard before. In the same way that many stand-up comics speak in a distinct way, Laurie Anderson created a very specific rhythm for whatever it is that she did. I dreamed last night that I was on a plane with Laurie Anderson. I was trying to convince her to star in a sitcom with Peter Dinklage, where they'd play twins, non-identical twins. She was reluctant in the dream, but she was impressed by his nude scenes on Game of Thrones, although those scenes brought up uncomfortable feelings for her since he was her twin brother. After all, she said to me on the plane, in my dream, we did share a womb. And even if it's just a fictional womb in a potential TV show that might never get made, we shared a womb. And then she admitted she didn't understand the sitcom format. And I said, the truth of the matter is we don't understand it, don't even know what we don't understand. And she said, are you making fun of me? Is that the way you think I talk? When I was working at HBO years ago, I met Laurie Anderson at the premiere party for some movie we'd made. And I wound up in the buffet line talking to her, and we talked about whether food trucks were just a fad. I said yes, because I was wrong. And she insisted they were here to stay. Point Laurie Anderson. She seemed normal. She seemed cool. She spoke like normal people, not in that measured rhythm she uses on stage. To tell you the truth, I had no idea who she was. I thought she was the mother of one of the young actors. And later that night, a friend of mine told me I'd been talking to Laurie Anderson, which meant the world to him and almost nothing to me, because I never loved Laurie Anderson. But my friend made me go back with him and introduce him to her. And he gushed, way worse than when your out-of-town relative comes to visit you and insists that the homeless guy they saw in the dairy aisle at Ralph's is James Franco, which it clearly isn't, since James Franco is famously lactose intolerant. My friend ran down the list of all of Laurie Anderson's albums, told her where he bought each one, what it meant to him, and where he still had it in storage. He talked about seeing her live. He told her stories about trying and failing to get his friends to like her work. It was mortifying. But then he went on for so long that it stopped being mortifying and became oddly endearing and then fascinating in spite of itself, like when you see a wreck on the side of the freeway and you just can't look away, or you can't stop yourself from watching the freeway chases on local news because apparently car chases magically eliminate all other news in the world. At one point, Laurie Anderson looked over at me and cocked her eyebrow just enough to make me feel like maybe we were co-conspirators. Maybe we'd pull a bank heist together, or save the bees, or invent hot yoga. And my friend continued gushing for another 10 minutes. It went on so long that Laurie Anderson stopped being freaked out and started giving my friend advice on how to meet new people and improve his wardrobe, so maybe he could find a girlfriend and wouldn't be so dependent on listening to her records as the only source of joy in his world. And finally, he finished and she made an excuse and quickly escaped. My friend actually held up his hand for me to high five as if he had done something deeply wonderful instead of something for which he should be deeply, deeply, deeply ashamed. And I looked around to see that no one was watching, and then I fived him because I'm still, after all these years, a dork. And I'm still, after all these years, deeply, deeply ashamed of that high five. At the end of the night, I went out to the valet stand and it was deserted, except for Laurie Anderson. And I thought of just turning around and finding a way to kill a few minutes before I got my car so I could avoid further embarrassment, but she saw me and she waved, which is just so Laurie Anderson. As we waited for our cars, I apologized for my friend, and Laurie Anderson laughed and said, "You didn't know who I was at the buffet, did you?" And I admitted that I didn't. And then I remembered I was trying to come across as cool. So I said, "Oh, I thought you might have been Cyndi Lauper," which was not at all true, but it made her laugh, which is better than being true. And she had a normal laugh, not the staccato kind of laugh you might expect she would have from the way that she talked. And then she said about my friend, with that same practiced rhythm she used on stage, "I thought at first your friend was putting me on, and then I realized he was not. I wonder if he noticed, if I noticed him at all, or if it was all about him and I could have gone home and taken a bubble bath." And then her car arrived, and with a jaunty wave, she drove off into the night. I never loved Laurie Anderson's music. I never thought all that much of her musical output, but I could not possibly have adored her more than I did at that moment. And that night, in front of the Beverly Hilton, I realized I wanted to live in a world, in an alternate universe, exactly the same as ours, except in that alternate universe, Laurie Anderson would tour as a stand-up comic, delivering routines in that measured, rhythmic, slightly artificial way of hers before she escapes off stage with a jaunty wave and disappears into the night, probably to fight crime. And by the way, that particular alternate universe is exactly like where you are right now, only much, much better. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the fabulous and amazing and dark, oh, there she is, Amy Engelhardt.
Did you not see me at all? Could you not see me at all? Is that why you're so dark? Hi, that was amazing. And I was wondering, Laurie Anderson is such an 80s thing, but obviously we know who she is. Hello to everybody out there. I'm going to start with a tune about something I know we've all been feeling or waiting to feel. Oh, and also if there's an issue with balance with my vocals and my piano, chat about it. Or let us know in the chat and I'll fix it afterwards.
Hot hand Jeremy was fought for me, so he took her out to dinner twice. After they got naked, he got nasty and mean. When she called him, she got ice. 'Cause that's his MO and he worships his dick. But I heard he was fired and replaced by a chick. Oh well. Sha 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 sha. Shining brighter. Shining brighter, oh my dear. Shining his grass, but hey, the dude was an ass. Not sorry, and my conscience is clear. Mean brain Susan led the trivia team, but was upstaged by roommates. Kimmy got a pony for her sweet 16 and knew Latin and atomic weights. But Susan dosed Kimmy's coke to sidelight the bitch, and Sam saw her do it, so he pulled a big switch right before a match. Schadenfreude, Schadenfreude struck a nerve. Schadenfreude, plans destroyed. I shouldn't laugh, but that's a hoot and a half. I'm sorry, not sorry, you get what you deserve. It doesn't bother me when you get hurt. It's a cartoon injury. Sometimes it's funny when it's just desserts. Until shit happens to me. Until shit happens to me. Shit happens to me. Shit happens to me. Shit happens to me. Judge Roy Thomas was a racist coot with an eye like 20 stench. Jewish, black, or female, then the point is mute. He was welded to the bench. Then naked pictures of the judge wound up online. He was quite unattractive, but the other dude was fine. Schadenfreude. 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 One more time. Schadenfreude. You can't avoid it. You hate that it's true, but sweetie, you feel it too. You're sorry, not sorry that you turn on a dime, and if nobody sees you, it's a victimless crime.
Everybody needs a side of Schadenfreude in their life, I think. That's true, Alex. There you will get a free MP3 when you join my mailing list, and I have started mixing my second album, finally, which is called "Finish What You." Ironically, COVID kind of put a dent in that, the pandemic, but I'm back on board, and actually, I'm switching out some of the songs because I've written so much during this time. You are watching He Said, She Sang. Welcome.
What are you doing here? What are you still doing here? Oh, Charlotte was crystal clear. Charlotte could not have been more clear. Nothing in the fridge has changed since you last opened the door. Nothing in your life has changed either. Are you Thomas? Or are you the ghost of Thomas? Which one am I here with tonight? Are you breathing? Or are you the ghost of breathing? Which one is gonna win the fight? Win the fight. Looks like it's you and me, but it was always you and me. Oh, she isn't coming back. She isn't ever coming back. Every did you think but Charlotte was love, only love. Thomas? Are you the ghost of Thomas? Which one am I here with tonight? Are you breathing? Or are you the ghost of breathing? Which one is gonna win the fight? 'Cause I can't stay inside these walls forever, waiting for you to give up on you and Charlotte together. Are you Thomas? Or are you the ghost of Thomas? Which one is gonna win the fight? Win the fight! Win the fight!
Thank you. And I know my brother is watching and going, Charlotte? Because Charlotte was
Charlotte.
it was actually our grandmother's name. So
Hey, Amy.
yeah.
Wendy says the vocals are a little faint. Can you turn them up or turn the
I can.
keyboard
Thank you.
down a little?
Thank you. I can and I will.
Because you care?
Because I care. I guess I'm just so excited because I replaced the sustain pedal on my keyboard today. I went out to Guitar Center and they weren't assholes, which is kind of a new thing for Guitar Center. When you go in. What? There goes that big sponsorship.
I was going to say, clearly they are not sponsoring this show.
Well, I don't play the fucking guitar. No, they actually have a rep for not being very nice to women.
Okie doke. Hey, I did want to mention one thing, which you can help me mention while we're here. The show is totally free.
Totally free.
We're doing this because we want to, and because, well, one of us went to Guitar Center, but the other one has really basically been in the house all day and wanted something to do. However, if you are working and you have a little bit of cash burning a hole in your pocket, you can feel free to use the, what? Where's my finger? Oh, there we go.
We can't even find our own body parts. It's the pandemic has gotten so
That's how far in the pandemic we are. You can use the virtual tip jar. You know, so if you're thinking, oh, I'm sitting here at home. If I'd gone out, I probably would have paid $10 for this show. You're welcome to throw that in the virtual tip jar. If you are sitting at home drinking an adult beverage, perhaps a really fine beer that you got at the supermarket for $1 or $2 that you might have paid $7 or $10 in a bar, feel free to throw that in the virtual tip jar. If you've already given to other things this week, like I said, don't worry about it. That's not what we're here for. We're here to sang and said.
And not watch TV or
And-
doom scroll.
yeah. Or do what?
Doom scroll.
Oh, well, okay.
Ladies
I'm
and
going
gentlemen, Alex Stein.
Okay, then I'm going to just get rid of Amy. Who knew it was that easy? So this is an old piece, but I've just rewritten it recently. It's called Purple Drizzle, Purple Drizzle. It was almost 3 a.m. and I was stopped at a red light in Hollywood, stopped so long I wondered if the light was out of order. But I was in my 20s, and at the time I believed I had all the time in the world. That was the night I'd found out about a free concert which the rock band Squeeze was playing at a medium-sized club in Hollywood. And this was notable because Squeeze at the time was filling venues that were 10 times as large. This was in the brief window after the band got back together following their first breakup, long before the endless string of dour albums filled with mid-tempo ballads that precipitated their commercial decline, which led to the fight and the second longer breakup, and decades before their subsequent reunion for triumphant world tours, that album that sold 80 million copies, and their induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame with a frankly embarrassing, over-the-top speech by Sir Paul McCartney, although I have to admit that some of the things in this sentence happened only in my mind. I went to the concert, and then I discovered that at age 25, I was older than 99% of the people in the audience. For some reason, Squeeze was then being marketed as a teeny bopper band. Those were sad days for rock and roll. And then I ran into a friend who had backstage passes, but said that the club owner got a call that her apartment was on fire and came to find her. And this was pre-cell phones. So she gave the passes to me. And that's how I ended up at an after party at a trendy nightclub where I knew no one. And the band put in a 10-minute appearance before leaving to catch a plane to Saskatoon, where presumably thousands of Canadian teeny boppers were waiting to see them. The entire after party devolved into a weird networking event for assistants in the music industry. They each were trying to impress each other with tricks they used to get dubious expenses covered by record companies. It soon became clear to me that none of them actually liked music, but they all loved access. And then that friend whose apartment was on fire showed up because Los Angeles has a really efficient fire department. And she added, while doing a line of coke on the bar, there were some lady firefighters, so they saved her shoes. And this was not the kind of conversation I was used to having before I moved to LA. So that seemed like a good time for me to leave, which is how I found myself stopped at the red light at 3 a.m. with my left elbow propped against the open window. A sleek, gorgeous, purple convertible pulled up in the lane next to me, driven by a woman wearing fishnet stockings on her arms, which is not always a good look, but it worked for her. And I caught her eye and she smiled. And so I said, "It's not every day that you see a purple convertible, because I am charming and skilled in stating the obvious." And she turned off her stereo, which was blasting Prince, and said, "It's not purple, it's lavender." So I said, "It's not every day you see a lavender convertible." And she laughed, although it's not clear if it was with me or at me, and said, "What time is it?" And I looked at my watch, and it was exactly 2:56 a.m. But 2:56 a.m. seemed like the wrong time. Too late for the night, but too early for the morning. In fact, research has shown that 2:56 a.m. is the one single time most likely to repel women driving automobiles, especially convertibles, according to a study published in the journal of stuff I just literally made up. So instead, I said, "It's a little after 2. And the woman in the convertible said, "Perfect. That's secret time." And I said, "Secret time?" And she said, "You're not a cop, are you? Because you'd have to tell me if you're a cop." And I said, "I'm not a cop," because I wasn't. I still am not. I didn't tell her that it's not really true that cops have to tell you they're cops, because just the fact that I would know that would make me seem a lot more like a cop. And she said, "A little after 2 is secret time. You are required by law to tell me a secret you've never told anyone." And I believed her, not because she was hot, but because I have a deep-seated belief that human beings are good and honest. And also, she was hot. And I said, "I'm worried I'll never be as well-liked as my friends in college. I'm afraid I moved here unequipped for what Los Angeles would throw at me. and I'll die at age 27 without ever experiencing true love or finding the right artistic outlet or kissing a woman wearing fishnet stockings on her arm in a convertible. And Squeeze will never get the recognition they so richly deserve, if only for their work in the late 70s and early 80s. And the right wing will become so skillful at fanning the flames of ignorance and prejudice that the country I love will devolve into a feudal society where people vote against their own best interests in order to enrich those who can pay for the best propaganda. And my prescient and early investments in the pitchfork and torch sector will not provide the necessary income to retire at a reasonable age. And she stared at me for an uncomfortably long amount of time, perhaps because she was unused to people telling her the truth instead of just flirting with her. Trying to salvage the situation, I said, "Your turn. Secret time. Tell me something you've never told anyone." And she said, "I'm not wearing shoes. I never wear shoes when I drive." And she stretched out one of her legs to expose her bare foot, and I could see she was telling the truth and had very good legs, or at least one very good leg. I assume the other one was equally good. I assume there was another one. We sat there until I finally said, "So," because my ability to talk to gorgeous women was cemented in 7th grade and has not improved, frankly, since then. She held up her hand with one finger raised in the universal gesture of, "Just a second, you're not that important. I got to do this other thing instead." And she turned the radio back on, blasting Prince, looked both ways, and ran the light. I watched her car disappear down that long, empty boulevard, unsure if I was supposed to follow, while Prince, still funky but getting quieter, faded into the night air. It started to drizzle, and the beautiful woman in the lavender, but arguably really purple convertible was just gone. And then I heard this sound, and a homeless guy pushing a shopping cart came up to the light. He stopped, waiting to cross in the same direction I was headed. He looked at me, pushed the walk button, and nodded. "Secret time," he said. "Between 2 and 4 in the morning. These lights won't change unless someone presses the button, because there's almost no traffic and 99% of it goes the other way." I asked why he didn't just cross without the light. And he said, "It's against the law. It's jaywalking. They ticket for that." And he added, "Besides, I've been watching you. I'm not sure how long you would have stayed here. I mean, I know you're not very bright. You let the girl in the purple convertible get away." And the light changed, but just before I hit the gas, I said, "Lavender, lavender convertible." And he yelled after me, "It don't matter what color it is once she's gone." And he started to sing, and his voice was pure and mournful and filled with soul. And I wanted to just go back to that after party and drag one of the music industry assistants down to the street to listen to him and maybe get him a record deal, or at least help him get off the streets. And then I remembered none of the people at that party really liked music. So I kept driving, and the sound of his voice faded after a few blocks. Secret time. Every time I am in Hollywood, where did I go? Can you do something?
Yep. Hey, I don't know what happened to Alex. Either his phone died or something, but I can't wait to hear the thrilling conclusion, which I think we were about to hear. Something tells me that we were like 3 lines away from the thrilling conclusion, but his phone froze. So there you have it.
Hey, I'm back.
What happened?
I don't know.
Was
One
it
of the
cat
cats
related?
started. Yeah, it was cat related. All right, so let me just conclude that. Secret time. Every time I'm in Hollywood, I look for him and listen. And every time it drizzles, I think of him. But I never saw him again after that night. And like he might have said, don't matter how good he sang after he's gone. Thank you. And now, one more time, Amy Engelhardt.
So we were like 3 lines away.
Literally 3 lines away. And now I have to go clean up after one of the cats while you're singing.
Uh-oh. Was it it was a gack?
Yeah, a little bit.
This is what happens when you do stuff from home. One time we were doing a show and I was upstairs, actually where Alex is. I had set up upstairs, and I was doing my tune called Deep Blue Sea, and just as I got to the really kind of spare ending, I'm going, "You're beautiful." The cat was next to me digging in the litter box and took the stinkiest poop, and all I could think is, "You're beautiful." Dropping duty bombs in the middle of our.
I can only conclude that the cat did not like that story or does not like Prince, one or the other.
All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, Amy Engelhardt.
Thank you, Alex. All right, I have turned my vocals up, so hopefully that will help in the balance thing. It chases itself. So I've also been told to keep everything on the DL and have you turn stuff up, because otherwise I will clip. So there you have it. That's what happens when you go back and forth between sources. This is a song dedicated to friends on the East Coast. This coffee isn't very good, but it was on sale. Tastes like Tuesday, unremarkable. I wouldn't call it stale. This coffee isn't very strong, but I like its feel. Tame and cowardly, but drinkable. Sometimes it's a meal. I'm here. I'm still here, at least through New Year's. This coffee you would hate, doll, it tastes like death. You were cursing at the nurses with your very last breath. A biting, brilliant Harlem queen till the bitter end. How I wish I had your confidence and one better friend. I'm here. I'm here, at least through New Year's. Rockefeller Center, snow in Central Park, 5 p.m. and it's dark. Dinner at the diner, crayon games and truth, mismatched mittens in the booth. This coffee disappoints a ghost, but it has to do. I'm like Tuesday, unremarkable, except I knew you. I'm here. I'm still here. I'm here. I'm still here. At least through New Year. Thank you. I played that last night actually in a group called Far West, which is a division of the Folk Alliance. I had not stepped into that whole arena, and then I did last night, and it was really cool. It's not exactly folk music, but it's the whole kind of folk music community is very hot on lyrics. So if you have lyrics that are involved or tell a story, they're really into that. All right, this is audience participation song. Participation song. So what I need you to do is say, ooh, ooh, ooh. Ready? I'll do it with you. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Again. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Ooh. It's almost like you're a bird or something like that. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Ooh, ooh, ooh. 5 a.m. All quiet on the Western Front. I live on the Western Front, so it's quiet here. Southern Cal, asleep like a normal gal, but soon there's gonna be a riot here. 5:15, hoot hooty hoot hooty hoot hoots. Oh my God, it's like it's got a megaphone. 5:25, hoot hooty hoot hooty hoot hoots. How is that bird still alive? And if I ruled the world, only rainbow flags would be unfurled. If I were the king, I'd command love and joy and happy things. And if I had my way, the evil hooty hoot would die today. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Don't get me wrong, I like the nature, and I'm a singer, you'd think I'd understand. But this is an evil song, and 5:15 is wrong, and not the time for concerts from a one-bird band. So if I were the queen, all the sidewalks would be sparkling clean, and if I had my say, we'd solve homelessness in every way. And when I gave the word, there'd be no more stupid hooting bird. My neighbors would hail me as a hero. My husband would thank me with a kiss, and the ASPCA would have a hooty fucking field day. Morning, a morning bird that nobody would miss. Ooh, ooh, ooh. I can't hear you. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Ooh, its demise won't be delayed. The evil hooty hoot has overstayed its welcome. Taps the horns will toot the tragic end of evil hooty hoot. And if my wildest dreams come true, we'll all have hooty vindaloo. Hoot, hoot. Ooh, 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 ooh.
Engelhardt. That is-
Okay, yes.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say that is a real thing, as Alex knows.
I was going to say that is a true story.
25 fucking years of hootie hoot.
And it is evil. We have verified that it is evil.
Comes back.
What did you say?
I said goes away for a couple winter months and then it comes back. It just came back at 2 a.m. last week. Damn, I hate that bird.
Nature lover, Amy Engelhardt. She loves the nature, people. Speaking of true stories, I love when people ask me if stories I tell are true, which they almost always are. Not quite, not all the time, almost always. I have a book that came out a few months ago that I just want to hold up, show you this. It's called Tales from the Trail, short fiction about dogs, mushing, and sled dog races. And there's a bunch of stories in this book, including the one I'm going to do next, that is told from the point of view of a dog. Now, despite the fact that this book has in its subtitle the word fiction, and despite the fact that that there are stories told from the point of view of dogs, sometimes when I do these stories in live shows or on the internet live shows that we have these days, people will come up to me and ask me, is this a true story? And this happened a couple months ago with a story that I did, which is one of the dog stories, one of the stories from the point of view of a dog. And this person came up to me and or emailed me afterwards and said, was that a true story? And I didn't really know what to say because I was not raised as a dog. So there is that. This is my favorite story from that book. It's called Last. I remember my first run. I'd been watching the others get in harness, wondering what it felt like to pull like that. How strange to think of you behind me driving instead of in front, playing with me or feeding me. My life before then was happy, in the dog yard, running around, frolicking. But the others would go out, and when they'd come back, they had this look about them, like they knew the big secret. And I wanted to know it too. And then one day it was my turn. From the start, I loved pulling the sled, even if it was just going around the lake. After a few months, whenever I came back into the dog yard, the puppies looked at me like I knew the big secret, because I did. I like the feel of snow. I love the way my shoulders pull on the harness and the line pulls taut and the sled moves forward. I love the sound of all of the dogs panting and pulling and moving together. I like the camping trips, being out at night, eating on the trail, sleeping on straw under the stars. I remember that one time when all the other dogs were asleep and it was just me and you awake in the middle of the night, looking up, watching the northern lights dance for what seemed like hours. I loved feeling you riding the brake, trying to slow us down, hearing you call out commands, feeling the whole team move together like a single 70-foot-long organism. I didn't like the races much at first. So many dogs, so many people, so much noise, and too much to smell. But you took me aside during my first race and told me it would be okay. Told me there were a lot of dogs at the beginning, and there'd be a lot of dogs and people at the end, but most of the time it would just be us, me, with my pack and my human. There were some great races when we did more than anyone thought we could, when everything fell into place and nothing could go wrong. And there were some bad races. You got discouraged a few times. We got sick a few times. The sled broke a lot. But you always made it good for us. You moved me around over the years, put me in team, in wheel, in swing. I was never the main leader, but I could lead. I knew the commands. I knew how to keep the team going. I knew the secret language of every dog who came before me and every dog who'll follow after I'm gone. I loved every run and nearly every race. I think you know. I think you know already. I've lost a few steps. I get tired more quickly. You joke with me and tell me you're a few steps slower yourself. I felt my paws more this year, and they're good paws, but not puppy paws anymore. The yearlings smell it on me too, like I smelled it on the older dogs when I was young. It's not the end yet, but it's coming. They know. We all know. This will be my last race. Oh, I'll still run with you. I'll still help corral the puppies and teach them what I know, but my 1,000-miler days are done after this. My 300-miler days, too. The mind still wants to go. The mind still thinks I'm a puppy. But the body knows better. Legs cramp more. Nose can't pick up the scent of the trail as quickly. And honestly, the idea of being a couch dog suddenly appeals to me, and it never used to. You seem sad as you walk the line giving us snacks. So I nuzzle you to cheer you up. You grin at me, and I know what you're thinking. I have done too good a job. I've cheered you up too much. You think I have another year of racing in me. I catch your eye. I want to make sure you know. And I want you to be okay with it. You look at me for a long time. Then you nod and look away. You don't want to admit it, but yeah. You know. You humans get mushy about these things. You let sadness wash over all the joy. We can read you. We get sad when you're sad, so we try to help, to remind you of how happy this makes all of us. Still, we dogs know when it's time. I hope you get it, but I'm never really sure. And you know, the older dogs used to say that when they taught me to be part of the team. I didn't understand then. I was too busy letting the joy of the trail wash over every fiber of my being. I understand it now, and it's okay. All of it. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. We still have a job to do. You rub the area by my nose where my fur has gone gray, right where I like it. This will be my last time here with you on this trail. I strain forward. Come on, pull the hook already. Let's do this. One last run to the finish. You, me, and this amazing team. One last time. My last great race. Thank you. And now, let me see if I can bring Amy Engelhardt back in.
Ow!
There you are.
My brother is watching from Alabama, and he texted me a picture of an evil hootie hoot, and it was demonic. I just have to say. So I have one more tune that I'd like to do, and before we close, I'm not going to do two. I'm just going to do one. But I just want to say thank you for being here, and we have a bunch of stuff coming up in March. I'm going to be doing two things. I'm going to be doing MarsCon, which is this kind of amazing festival of kind of Weird Al, Dr. Demento type music. Not a lot of which I did here tonight. Obviously, I did the Evil Hootie Hoot, which some people find funny. And there'll be other tunes that I'll be doing, or my funny stuff. I'll be doing it MarsCon. It was supposed to be in Minneapolis. It's not going to be in Minneapolis. It's going to be in Minneapolis. And then I'll be doing the Imago Music Festival, which is a benefit for foster kids in Los Angeles. So I put them in my last newsletter, but I'll be posting more in earnest about them. And then in April, I hope to have a really big announcement about a project that is supposed to come to fruition there. There you have it. A project that was supposed to go last summer, 2020, in both, oddly enough, Minneapolis and New York. So we'll see. Thank you so much for being here. This is a lullaby for 2020 that I just did on a podcast for in Bern, Switzerland, of all places. For Blue Zeppelin. It's a wonderful program on community radio, Radio Bern. Look it up. I think there's a link on my page as well. You can hear that podcast. And they had me change one of the words in it because it was going to be rebroadcast in the United States in upstate New York community radio. And they were afraid that they'd be fined because, we have the FCC here and they don't in Switzerland. They have amazing cheese, but they do not have the FCC. So I had to say this word instead of the actual word, but I'm going to say the fecking word tonight because I think you can take it. I don't know why you would find a word like that in a beautiful lullaby type piece. Well, you would if I wrote it, and I did, because you can take the girl out of New Jersey, but hello. It's a lullaby, and I don't know that it's the most uplifting thing to end on, but it's what I'm ending on. And it's called Tomorrow, with a hat tip to the tomorrow that everyone thinks of when they hear the word tomorrow. Oh, and if you sign up for my mailing list, not only will you get a free MP3, but you'll know when the studio recording of this is coming out, which I just did the lead for the other day.
I will be different. You will be different. This will be different tomorrow. Who am I kidding? I must be kidding. I'll clean the bathroom tomorrow. Me and my clever stuck here forever. Bigger, not better. Tomorrow, so much for sober. Turn the leaf over, over and over. Tomorrow, and all of you folks can go. All of you folks can go. All of you folks can go. Fuck the fuck off. Sunshine is humming, down goes the dumbing. Christmas is coming tomorrow. Be who you need to, do what you have to, break what you want to. Tomorrow, tell me the ending, spare the pretending. Time's all I'm spending tomorrow. And all of you folks can go. All of you folks can go. All of you folks can go. boxes of people. Cut to the sequel, and all of you fucks can go fuck the fuck off. Tomorrow.
I thought I heard squeaking.
This is Bettles P. Kotzebue. She is not pleased with me for holding her up for 30 seconds.
Was
So
she
I
the
could-
one who gacked?
No,
Oh,
no. So you guys, thank you so much for joining us on President's Day for this President's Day not so presidential edition of He Shed, She Shed, She Shang. She Shed, She Shang.
By the seashore. Well, we're about 3 miles from the beach, so.
There you go.
Talk about running out of gas.
I thought you might have some prescient words to leave the peoples with.
Get vaccinated.
Get vaccinated, wear a mask, wash your hands. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We'll see you again. Phenomena. We'll see you again. I don't know when. March, April, sometime like that.
Probably we'll do. You'll do a penultimate show. I'm thinking.
A penultimate show, indeed.
Yes, that's the Alex's new storytelling show. We've only done one of them, and we did it on December 30th.
The penultimate day of the year.
That's right. No, but that was just a coincidence because that's not why it's called the penultimate
Right.
show,
Of course.
as we know from the theme song.
I'm Alex Stein. This is Amy Engelhardt. Thank you guys so much. Good night.
Happy New Year.